On the front page of the Sowetan this morning, the big story there says UCT Twitter wars. It was not her. This is UCT Vice Chancellor Mahmoud Getty Pakeng, who is, we're seeing a sub story here, nephew of beleaguered UCT Vice Chancellor, says he tweets on her behalf as family of late Mayosi fumes over insensitive tweet comparing suicidal Mahmoud Getty to him. The details of that on page 2. How I plotted Chiefs' defeat. The details of that at the back page. Communities under siege. Little faith in police as gangs run amok. The details of that on page 6. Legendary ladies of song honored. And this is, of course, talking about the music awards on page 6. And final story on the front page of the Sowetan. Water crisis blame game on page 7. Cole Segal and Wade Jackson helping elderly people fetch water from water tanks in Sowetan, Johannesburg, one of the suburbs hit by water shortages yesterday. That's all we're taking this morning in South Africa. Let's head away from South Africa to Uganda.
All right, let's see what we can find on the Daily Monitor this morning. Of course, the water crisis in South Africa is very different from the water crisis currently in Nigeria.
Oh, right.
It's a very different, perspective of water crisis here, but we'll get to it. On the Daily Monitor this morning, tight Ebola rules as S4 exams start. Caution, schools across the country have been put on high alert over the spread of the deadly Ebola virus, with more than 349,000 O-level candidates set to sit their first papers this morning. And also on page 6, over 2,800 to be interviewed for police jobs. You can also find on the Daily Monitor this morning, farmers warn of pork and chicken shortage in feeds row with URA. And it's talking about the poultry and pig farmers in Kampala, Wakiso and Luwedo districts warning of an impending shortage of poultry and pork products due to lack of feeds. Tears as Ugandans narrate Dubai ordeal. A group of 12 Ugandans who were repatriated from Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, jetted into the country on Saturday.
All right, still looking at the front page of the Daily Monitor. All right, let's move away from there and come back to this Nigeria. On the front page of this Nigeria, the big story says floods of sorrow, like Osaoge mentioned. The floods, the water crisis we're looking at in South Africa is totally different from the water crisis we're having in Nigeria. It's really floods of sorrow with over 2.5 million persons displaced, 603 deaths, 82,538 houses submerged, says federal government. Nigerians groan from devastating effects, 6 government assistance to check misery. The details of that on page 2 and 4. And really, our hearts just go out to as many Nigerians as are stranded in these parts of the country where there have been extreme floodings. And, some of them go to bed and they go to bed with a house, wake up submerged in a flood. And all of a sudden, they've lost everything. We're going to talk further into the show. We're going to look into this further along. SERAP tells Buhari to publish names of oil thieves, threatens legal action. The details of that on page 20. This is also a conversation we'll be having as we proceed with the show. Oyebanji takes over as Ekiti governor or government freezes bank accounts, appoints SSG. The details of that on page 4. No political party can transform Nigeria without God's intervention, says CAC president on page 13. We can see a photograph here. It's a photograph of the Ekiti state governor, Biodun Oyebanji, during the administration of oaths by the state chief judge, Adeyeye Oyewole, at the inauguration ceremony in Ekiti Parapon Pavilion at Do Ekiti yesterday. Now, final story here. Nigeria generates 1.89 trillion naira internally generated revenue in 2021, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Lagos, Abuja, Rivers lead other states. On page 20, you can find the details of that. That's all we can take this morning on this Nigeria. Let's still stay in Nigeria.
All right, still in Nigeria. Let's see what the Blueprint newspapers has for us. And of course, a pretty interesting one you read there. This is from SERAP asking the Nigerian government to provide the names of the oil thieves. It's a very interesting thing that happens a lot of times. Where you hear that there's been investigations. Crimes have been busted. But you would never hear the names of the perpetrators. Of these crimes.
They have accused the government as well of being involved in this, being complicit. I think it was the national chairman of host communities granted an interview and was saying that the communities are not the ones that are actually stealing this. That is, it's an organized crime, that has been set up, and urging the government that, okay, we can produce the names for you, but can you guarantee us that something will be done about it?
Yeah.
You know, they've said that names have been produced in time past and nothing was done about it.
Same way, you know, that they had mentioned that they had found the people sponsoring terrorism, but, you know, those names just never, you know, came out. It's also the same thing with the Jeffrey Epstein case, if you go outside Africa, where he's accused of, you know, passing out underage girls, you know, for sex trafficking and the likes to, you know, hundreds, maybe dozens of persons that were just never named.
Oh.
All right. Or let's say on in the blueprints, Nigeria flood, 603 die, over 2.5 million affected nationwide. Federal government directs evacuation of Anambra Delta Cross River Bayelsa communities. Doyediri urges declaration of emergency in Bayelsa. They seem to be hardly hit by the flood. 2023 presidency, Tinubu Atiku in war of words over Northerners don't need Yoruba Igbo comment. Resort to ethnic cards, dangerous, won't save you from defeat. Ohaneze and Onanuga is saying that's on page 8. And also Fani Kayode is saying he cannot speak for the North. Atiku explains statement, says APC candidates a threat to national cohesion, not me. All right. 3,800 Kogi teachers fail recruitment test.
Oh,
Female undergraduate, pregnant woman arrested with illicit drugs in Lagos. And also gunmen kidnap another ex-Anambra lawmaker at security checkpoint. We can also find on the blueprint this morning, Kogi communities jubilate as Dangote Cement Obajana plant reopens. APC PDP clash, IPI kicks as Zamfara shots NTA, Gamji TV and 2 others. Oyebanji takes over from Fayemi, pledges to make Ekiti prosperous. I'm going to just throw in one last one. Kaduna, the ill-fated media war against PDP gubernatorial candidate Ashiru. Those are the stories that we have on the blueprint, and of course the stories that we have at this time on our newspaper review across the continent. We'll have more papers coming your way in the second half of Breakfast Central, as always.